Have you ever wondered why her body betrays secrets her words refuse to speak? Why the slight flicker of her gaze, the tilt of her head, the rhythm of her breath seem louder than any confession? Machiavelli would tell you this: power never shouts, it whispers. And attraction belongs to the same realm of quiet strategies. There are gestures older than language, traces of instinct buried beneath reason, movements too fast for conscious control. Modern men ignore them because they have been trained to listen only to declarations, to cling to the comfort of explicit words. But Machiavelli warned, those who wait for clarity are governed by those who create it. And in the theater of desire, clarity belongs to the man who observes what cannot be said. This is not about romance. This is about power. Machiavelli taught that true influence flows from understanding forces others cannot see, forces shaping choices before thought intervenes. A woman's unconscious reveals where her instincts lead before her logic can disguise it. And if you fail to read this language, you are no strategist. You are a pawn in a game you do not even know you're playing. Consider this. Why does she angle her body toward you, even as she speaks to another? Why does her laughter sharpen when your presence closes distance? Why does her hand graze her neck when silence stretches between you? These are not accidents. These are signals coded in flesh, the survival strategies of an organism far older than civilization itself. Machiavelli wrote that men lose power not because they are weak, but because they are blind. Blind to the structures beneath appearance, blind to the real motives beneath polite scripts. Most men confuse performance with truth. They hear her words and believe the story she tells herself, unaware that her biology speaks first, and speaks without permission. Do you see the problem? The modern man believes attraction is declared. He waits for a yes, a confession, a clean permission slip handed across the table. But attraction has already chosen long before speech arrives. It lives in her pupils, in the cadence of her breathing, in the small betrayals of symmetry and timing. The strategist does not wait for the overt. He reads the covert. He sees what she cannot hide. But here lies the paradox Machiavelli understood better than anyone. Knowing her signals is dangerous if you lack mastery over your own. To observe is power. To react blindly is slavery. The man intoxicated by the smallest confirmation loses leverage the moment he chases what was already coming toward him. Restraint, not recognition, separates the sovereign from the supplicant. And yet, to ignore these gestures entirely is to fight blindfolded. Attraction unfolds beneath reason, but reason must study it if power is to be kept. Machiavelli warned princes never to mistake peace for safety, never to assume order exists where they cannot see it. In love, as in politics, the forces you do not study will undo you. There is a hidden architecture beneath female psychology. Not malicious, not mystical, simply adaptive. Women evolved to protect, to select, to ensure survival through subtlety. These gestures are the artifacts of selection written into her nervous system, older than morality, untouched by conscious intent. You call it flirting. Nature calls it strategy. Look closer at her eyes. They lock, drift, return. A pattern she does not register, but her body enacts. Watch her feet. They betray where she wants to be even when her words keep her still. Listen to her voice. Tone bends under desire, softening almost imperceptibly, carrying fragments her rational mind cannot edit. Machiavelli would say this is the language of kingdoms, territories negotiated without speech. But most men never learn it. They rely on her words because words are safe. They cling to definitions and labels because ambiguity threatens them. And here they fail, because women live comfortably in ambiguity. Her instinct thrives in uncertainty, while yours panics. She tests not your declarations, but your ability to remain unmoved when her signals shift like tides. Have you noticed? She mirrors your gestures unconsciously when attraction takes root, crossing her legs when you cross yours, leaning forward when you lean back, matching your pace in a quiet choreography her conscious mind never rehearsed. This is not accident. This is alignment at the level of instinct, the nervous system reaching before thought can intervene. And yet, Machiavelli would warn, to point it out is to destroy it. Strategy demands patience. Mystery sustains tension. You must see her gestures without naming them. Study her signals without collapsing them into predictable scripts. Influence dies the moment you reveal you're tracking it. The strategist carries knowledge like a concealed blade, hidden, silent, lethal when needed. The danger of ignorance is obvious, but the danger of obsession is greater. Many men, upon discovering these signs, become hunters chasing confirmation, studying her every move as if decoding scripture. This is weakness disguised as insight. Machiavelli would remind you, knowledge is not power until it is governed. The moment you hunger for proof, she governs you. Because this is not about seduction. This is about sovereignty. A man grounded in himself reads the terrain calmly, using her gestures to orient his strategy without surrendering to them. He does not orbit her reactions. He does not bend to her rhythms. He stands as the fixed point, allowing her instinct to respond to his center rather than chase hers. Power, Machiavelli wrote, belongs to the one who defines the frame. In attraction, this means refusing to be destabilized by what she gives or withholds. Her attention, her silence, her approval, none of it governs you. The gestures are signals, not verdicts. You watch without leaning. You know without needing. You act without asking. And here is the revelation. Her attraction, unconscious and unspoken, is not a promise. It is an opening. It signals possibility, not possession. Those who mistake signal for guarantee will always bleed power fastest, because instinct is volatile, shifting with context, status, and strength. Machiavelli would demand you treat her gestures as intelligence, not as surrender. So study her without worshiping her. Recognize the patterns without kneeling to them. See the invisible choreography beneath her performance, but do not lose yourself in it. This is the discipline most men lack, and the one that separates those she tests from those she desires. Machiavelli would call this the first law of power. Never reveal how much you see. To expose your awareness too soon invites resistance, suspicion, and reversal. Better to be the calm surface beneath which depth hides. Better to let her wonder what you've noticed while you remain unshaken. You are not here to chase her signals. You are here to master your orientation. To lead not because she yields, but because your center holds steady regardless. Machiavelli understood this. Sovereignty is not granted. It is embodied. And nothing attracts deeper than the man who is untouched by the pull of approval. This is the foundation. Before you learn the 7 unconscious gestures, before you decode their meaning, you must confront the deeper truth. The game begins with you, not her. Without this grounding, knowledge will enslave you, not free you. And if you cannot yet stand still in the storm of her signals, you are not ready to enter the theater Machiavelli understood so well, where influence is quiet, tension is weaponized, and desire bows not to charm, but to control. Machiavelli once warned that power is rarely lost in great battles. It leaks quietly, gesture by gesture, moment by moment, while the unaware mistake motion for meaning. Attraction works the same way. It is silent, coded, strategic by design. And those who cannot read it surrender before they even step into the arena. The first gesture lives in her gaze. When instinct overtakes performance, her pupils dilate involuntarily, locking for fractions of seconds longer than reason allows. Attraction amplifies focus before thought catches up. She can control her smile, but not her biology. Machiavelli would call this a treaty signed without words, a signal negotiated beneath consciousness itself. The second gesture hides in proximity. Without meaning to, she orients her body closer, reducing invisible distances her rational mind would otherwise preserve. A shoulder leans toward you mid-conversation. Her knees angle in your direction even when she faces another. These are micro-territorial shifts, the kind Machiavelli understood as power dynamics mapped not on paper, but in instinct. The third gesture reveals itself in mimicry. Her voice softens to mirror your tone. Her breathing unconsciously matches your rhythm. Her gestures echo yours in subtle alignment. Machiavelli saw this in politics. Influence bends behavior before loyalty is declared. In attraction, the body submits to synchronization long before the mind decides. Fourth, study her hands. They betray secrets faster than her tongue. She touches her neck when silence thickens, grazes her lips when tension peaks, plays with objects to bleed off nervous energy she cannot contain. These are relics of survival wiring, signs older than language itself. Nature scripts desire long before choice intervenes. The fifth gesture hides in disruption. The sudden pauses between words, the quick catch of breath, the fleeting loss of composure when your presence sharpens her awareness of herself. You will see it in the microsecond hesitation before she answers, the nervous adjustment of posture she cannot explain. Machiavelli would see this as exposure, the veil of strategy slipping under the weight of instinct. Her sixth gesture surfaces in vulnerability, not declarations, but disclosures. The sudden laugh unplanned, the confession she didn't intend to share, the small fragment of childhood memory offered without reason. Attraction lowers defenses unconsciously, allowing glimpses into an interior she usually guards. But these openings are rare, and the strategist knows to receive them without forcing them. And the seventh, rarest gesture of all, bends time itself. You'll notice conversations stretch without effort, excuses dissolve, minutes collapse into seconds. Her sense of urgency suspends when instinct takes the wheel. Machiavelli would recognize this as submission without intention, a reprioritization driven by biology, not choice. Where interest is weak, time expands. Where attraction roots deeply, time disappears. But knowing these gestures is not victory. Most men, upon recognizing them, self-sabotage. They confuse signal with surrender, assuming what is offered unconsciously must be permanent. Machiavelli warned against this arrogance in every field of power. Never mistake access for possession, invitation for control. Signals are openings, not conclusions. You must treat these signs as intelligence, not indulgence. They inform your position but do not dictate your action. To pounce on them betrays need, and need dissolves value instantly. A strategist observes without leaning forward. Influence flows not from chasing confirmation, but from allowing tension to breathe. Because tension is the currency here. Women test unconsciously through contradiction, pulling close, then withdrawing, signaling warmth, then cloaking it in ambiguity. Most men panic in these oscillations, seeking reassurance where they should project steadiness. But Machiavelli would remind you, power bends toward composure. Where others waver, the unmoved man ascends. This is where sovereignty begins, not in manipulating her gestures, but in governing your own responses. If her gaze lingers and you flood her with approval, you fracture polarity. If her hand grazes yours and you react like a starving man, you bleed leverage. Machiavelli understood this instinctively. Scarcity shapes value. The man untouched by his hunger commands more than the man consumed by it. Do not mistake restraint for indifference. The strategist is not cold. He is calculated. He knows when to advance and when to wait, allowing her instinct to build its own momentum. Her unconscious gestures do the work for you if you do not interrupt them with neediness. Patience weaponizes gravity. But modern men have been trained to seek clarity at all costs, to demand labels, definitions, and guarantees. They expose their hunger too quickly, collapsing mystery into transaction. Machiavelli would laugh at their desperation. Influence thrives in uncertainty. Where ambiguity lives, curiosity grows. And where curiosity grows, attraction deepens. Understand this. These gestures are not invitations to possession. They are windows into instinct. Attraction lives in the nervous system, not in vows or promises. The strategist treats each signal as data, not destiny. You watch patterns, not isolated events. One gesture means nothing. 7. repeated consistently, reveal everything. And yet, even here, caution remains necessary, because she too is a strategist. Though she acts unconsciously, evolution has sharpened her discernment far beyond your declarations. She does not test what you say. She tests what you embody. Your posture, your calm, your frame. These become her metrics of safety and strength. This is why Machiavelli's teachings translate so cleanly to desire. Power is not seized through force alone. It is cultivated through perception, positioning, and patience. He advised princes to appear necessary without appearing desperate. In attraction, sovereignty works the same way. She must sense you are complete without her validation, yet open to her alignment. Men fail when they orbit her gestures, rearranging their identity around her signals, like servants waiting for approval. This inversion rots polarity from within. The strategist does not orbit. He anchors. He allows her signals to reveal interest, but does not abandon his path to pursue it. His orientation is internal, not reactive. The more grounded you remain, the stronger the signals become. Instinct gravitates toward stability, toward the man who thrives independent of her approval. The paradox Machiavelli understood is this: the moment you need her confirmation, you lose influence over the very desire you seek to secure. Do not expose your awareness. Do not name what you've seen. The most powerful knowledge is invisible. When you act as if nothing unusual has happened, her attraction compounds quietly. You become the unknown variable she cannot decode, and it is in decoding you that her investment deepens. Remember this: her unconscious betrays her before she does, but only if you can read without reacting. If you cannot remain composed, every signal becomes meaningless, because she will sense the shift in your frame before you even open your mouth. Machiavelli would say the battlefield is not her body or her gestures. It is your ability to govern your hunger. Influence flows to the man who sees everything and reveals nothing, who observes the entire map, yet walks calmly as if blind. That is power. That is rarity. That is the frame she respects, but cannot control. Machiavelli warned that power is rarely stolen. It is surrendered piece by piece by those who mistake illusion for control. Nowhere is this surrender more evident than in men's relationships with women. Not because she overpowers him, but because he betrays himself long before she needs to move. The greatest error of men is believing attraction equals security. They see her gestures, her lingering gaze, her softened tone, and they conclude, the game is over. But Machiavelli understood that desire is not static. It is conditional, fluid, tied to context, strength, and status. To believe a signal today guarantees permanence tomorrow is the first step toward ruin. This is where the tragedy begins. A man intoxicated by her unconscious signs shifts from observation to obsession. He abandons his mission, redirects his energy, and orbits her approval like a planet caught in another's gravity. And yet, Machiavelli would remind you, the one who orbits is never the one with power. Her psychology operates differently. Attraction for her is not a decision, it is instinct. She does not consciously analyze the 7 gestures she broadcasts. She feels and responds, but instinct also evaluates constantly. What draws her today will test you tomorrow, and what you fail to embody, you will inevitably lose. Understand this. She is not deceptive. She is adaptive. Her unconscious seeks alignment with strength, stability, and self-possession. Qualities she measures beneath words, beneath promises, beneath surface charm. Machiavelli wrote that appearances must be crafted carefully, but they must also rest on substance, because deception without competence eventually collapses. Men fail because they mistake performance for embodiment. They memorize scripts, mimic confidence, display signs of strength without cultivating its root. But women's instincts evolved over millennia to detect incongruence faster than reason can intervene. She senses the gap between what you say and what you are, before you can explain yourself. This is why Machiavelli's principles remain timeless. Power cannot be faked for long. A prince who rules by fear without authority eventually falls. A man who seeks to lead without grounding will be tested until he breaks. In attraction, she tests not to destroy you, but to locate you, to see if your frame is built on stone or sand. Her tests are rarely verbal. They emerge in silence, in ambiguity, in contradictions that would confuse an untrained mind. She withdraws after signaling desire. She hesitates after leaning close. She questions without asking. And most men, desperate for reassurance, react emotionally, proving through their volatility that they are unprepared to lead. Machiavelli would see these tests not as cruelty, but as calibration. Just as kingdoms assess allies before granting treaties, women assess sovereignty before granting devotion. It is not malicious, it is biological necessity. Instinctively, she seeks a man who can withstand her storms without collapsing into them. This is the battlefield where most men fall. They believe her attraction entitles them to control, failing to realize that attraction is not loyalty, and loyalty is not permanence. Without sovereignty, her unconscious reads instability, and instability cannot hold her attention for long. It is not rejection, it is adaptation. Nature selects relentlessly. But here lies the opportunity Machiavelli would demand you seize. Stop seeking her signals as validation. See them instead as information, feedback, not fulfillment. Your power is not in confirming her interest. It is in mastering your response to it. The one who governs himself governs the dynamic. Because if her gestures destabilize you, she senses it instantly. Your gaze hardens when she softens hers. Your tone rises when her silence deepens. Your choices orbit her attention instead of your mission. And in that moment, you cease to be the man who attracted her in the first place. You become predictable, replaceable, forgettable. Machiavelli wrote that those who cannot govern their impulses are governed by others. Attraction obeys the same law. Without control, you will chase her signals endlessly, mistaking every shift of mood for a verdict on your worth. And in doing so, you place the center of your identity in her hands. Hands that instinctively respect only what stands beyond their control. Understand this paradox. She is drawn to what she cannot fully possess, to the man who chooses her but does not need her, to the force she can feel but cannot command. The more you require proof of her desire, the faster it erodes. The less you demand, the more she invests energy in proving it. This is why Machiavelli insisted appearances matter, but only when backed by unshakable core. She does not want dominance in words. She seeks steadiness in essence. When your boundaries hold, when your frame survives her storms without shifting, you embody the rarest signal her unconscious can detect: safety without submission. Power here is not aggression, it is orientation. It is the ability to remain calm when she withdraws, confident when she tests, grounded when she doubts. You do not chase clarity because clarity chases strength. She must feel, not hear, that her approval does not define you. This is where modern men fail most. They worship her gestures instead of interpreting them, trying to decode every flicker of attention as if reading scripture. Machiavelli would find this pathetic. You do not lead by begging for signs. You lead by becoming the gravitational center to which signals naturally respond. The strategy is simple but rare. You watch without revealing, you understand without performing, you receive her attraction without kneeling to it. The one who sees everything but acts as if blind holds the advantage. She invests energy in decoding you, and it is in that investment that attraction deepens. But sovereignty has a cost: solitude. To embody this strength, you must be willing to stand alone, to detach your worth from her reactions entirely. Machiavelli knew this isolation well. Power isolates by nature, because dependence dilutes authority. The man who needs nothing commands everything. And when you reach this point, the 7 unconscious gestures transform. They no longer enslave you, they inform you. You are not pulled by them but positioned by them, using their data without being consumed by their gravity. She feels this distinction immediately, even if she cannot name it. This is the truth most men avoid because it demands responsibility. Women are not the problem. Your illusions are. You believed her attraction meant permanence. You believed her approval meant value. You believed her gestures meant surrender. And in clinging to these myths, you built your identity on conditions she never promised to maintain. Machiavelli would burn those illusions to the ground. Power lies not in controlling her, but in mastering yourself. She is not your battlefield. She is your mirror, revealing the fractures in your sovereignty long before you admit them to yourself. Her gestures test you, but they do not define you. When you embody this, everything shifts. You stop chasing signals and start shaping gravity. You stop begging for validation and start commanding respect without asking. You stop interpreting gestures as proof and start seeing them as alignment, momentary reflections of deeper forces you already control. And this is the paradox Machiavelli would leave you with. Women do not fall in love with men. They align with them. They gravitate toward the rare presence that stands unmoved, a calm in the chaos of instinct and uncertainty. She is not seeking control. She is seeking certainty, and only you can build it. So master yourself before you master her signals. Govern your hunger before you read her eyes. Build your frame before you decode her rhythms. Because when you stand sovereign, her unconscious recognizes it instantly. And recognition, unspoken and unforced, is the highest form of attraction there is. This is the truth hidden beneath every gesture, every test, every silence. She was never designed to complete you. She was designed to challenge you. And until you rise to meet that challenge, no signal matters, no confirmation lasts, and no strategy survives. Machiavelli would ask you only this: do you wish to be governed by instinct, or do you wish to govern it? The choice defines not just your relationships, but your life. Because power, in love, in politics, in existence itself, belongs only to those who cannot be moved.